There is a voice within you that whispers, but you have been taught to listen only to the shout. You believe you are the captain of your soul, steering your conscious life by the light of reason across a placid sea. But I must tell you, this is an illusion, a comforting story told by the ego. The true currents that move you, the deep and powerful tides that determine your course, flow from a place you cannot see, from the unseen depths of your own unconscious psyche. And so, if you truly wish to influence your own life, to steer your ship with any true authority, you must learn a most paradoxical art. You must learn to listen to the voice that whispers by hearing what it does not say. You must command your soul by learning to obey it. You must learn the secret language of reverse psychology, not as a cheap trick to be played on others, but as the key to unlocking the hidden influence within yourself. For the gate to your deepest power is guarded by a shadow that will only step aside when you stop trying to force your way in. There is a silence within you that is not empty, but full. It is a silence that speaks not in the words you have been taught, but in a language older than words. You spend your days amidst the noise, the clamor of your ambitions, the din of your fears, the constant chatter of a world telling you who to be. You strain to hear a truth above it all, and you call this effort thinking, you call it consciousness. But I must tell you, the most profound truths are not found in this shouting match. They reside in the quiet, in the neglected, in the hushed spaces between your thoughts. They emerge from what I have called the whispering abyss of the unconscious. We are terrified of this abyss, for we have been taught that to be silent is to be nothing, that to listen to the dark is to invite madness. So we turn up the volume of our lives, we fill every moment with distraction, desperate to avoid the one conversation that truly matters, the one that begins only when we have exhausted all our own answers. This is the great paradox of the psyche, that which we most need to hear speaks most softly. It does not force its way. It does not argue. It waits. It is the dream that slips away upon waking, leaving only a trace of feeling a lingering sadness or an inexplicable joy. It is the sudden, irrational impulse that rises from nowhere, compelling you to take a different path home, to call an old friend, to pick up a forgotten book. You dismiss these moments as whimsy, as nonsense, but I tell you, they are telegrams from the depths. They are the carefully coded messages from the totality of your being, what I call the self, trying to guide the small island of your ego through the vast ocean of existence. When you ignore these whispers, you are not being rational. You are being a fool, like a captain who throws his navigational charts into the sea because he prefers the sound of his own voice. To access this hidden influence, you must perform a most counterintuitive act. You must cease your frantic searching and become still. You must deliberately turn your attention away from the shout and toward the whisper. This is not a passive surrender. It is an active and courageous listening. It is the work of paying attention to what you normally edit out, the daydream that feels too childish, the resentment you quickly rationalize, the image that flashes before your inner eye without context. These are not mistakes of the mind, they are its most authentic productions. Your task is to create a vessel to catch them. You must become an archaeologist of your own soul, gently brushing away the dust of daily concerns to uncover the artifacts buried in your own silence. Write down your dreams upon waking, not to interpret them with some rigid dictionary, but to sit with their strange imagery, to feel their emotional weight. Follow the thread of a fantasy without judgment, to see where it leads. In this sacred act of listening, you are not becoming passive. You are for the first time, allowing the true commander of your ship, the self, to speak its course. And so, the journey begins not with a roar of intent, but the simple, revolutionary decision to be quiet and to truly, deeply listen. And so, you have begun to listen to the silence. You have started to hear the faint, whispering truths that rise from the depths. But now, a shadow falls across your path. For the first thing you will truly hear, when you listen honestly, is not a voice of comfort or easy grace. It is a presence that has been walking behind you all your life. You catch its movement in the periphery of your character, a sudden flash of jealousy you quickly dismiss, a petty thought you disown, a reservoir of anger you dare not acknowledge. This is the shadow, and you believe it is your enemy. You have spent a lifetime building walls against it, locking it away in the cellar of your soul, believing that by denying it, you have defeated it. But I tell you, the shadow you refuse to face does not vanish. It grows stronger in the dark. It begins to write your life for you, projecting its monstrous face onto your neighbors, your partners, your rivals, so that you see your own ugliness reflected back at you in the world. You believe you are fighting others, but you are only swinging at your own ghost. This is the great tragedy of the unlived life. We become possessed by what we will not own. The man who prides himself on his kindness is often terrorized by his own repressed cruelty, which leaks out in subtle, cutting remarks he claims are jokes. The woman who wears the mask of boundless patience is secretly a slave to the fury she buried alive, a fury that now sickens her body and poisons her relationships. You think you are running from a monster, but you are running from your own substance, from a part of your own soul that holds a power you desperately need. The shadow is not merely your garbage. It is your unlived life, your buried gold, the raw, instinctual power that you, in your civilized persona, have been too afraid to embody. Therefore, the path to wholeness does not lie in slaying this shadow, for to slay it is to slay a part of yourself. It lies in what I call the shadow's bargain. You must turn and face it. You must have the courage to descend into that cellar, not with a sword, but with a lantern, and say, I will see you. This is the most difficult negotiation of your life. You must sit with your own pettiness, your greed, your rage, and your fear, and ask them what they want. What message do they carry? What power have they locked away? This is not an act of condemnation, but of reclamation. You will find that much of what you called evil was merely a primitive, neglected, and desperate part of your own nature, crying out for recognition. When you can say, this too is me, the projection onto the world stops. The energy you wasted in hiding and fighting is suddenly returned to you, a vast reservoir of vitality you never knew you possessed. The bargain is this: you give the shadow the dignity of your conscious attention, and in return it gives you back your life, no longer lived in fear of the dark, but empowered by it. For the door to your greatest power is guarded by the shadow, and it will only open when you stop trying to break it down, and instead extend a hand. And so you have faced the shadow. You have made peace with the enemy within, and in doing so, you have reclaimed a lost part of your own soul. You feel a new strength, a new integrity. And now, the ego, having integrated this dark brother, feels its power growing. It is tempted to take the throne once more, to use this newfound strength to command the world, to seize control of life with a firmer, more determined grip. But this, I must warn you, is the oldest and most subtle trap. For the psyche does not yield to force. The deep self will not be commanded like a servant. You have learned to listen to the whisper and to face the shadow Now you must learn the most difficult lesson of all, the sacred reverse, the profound and paradoxical truth that to truly command your life, you must first learn to surrender control. You see, the conscious will, the ego, is like a man trying to navigate a great river by pushing against the current with his bare hands. He expends all his energy, he fights and struggles, he believes his force of will is what determines his course. But he is exhausted, brittle, and one strong current can shatter him. He mistakes his struggle for strength. True power, however, lies in understanding the flow of the river itself. It lies in learning the contours of the deep, in sensing the pull of the current, that is the intention of the self. This is not passivity. It is the highest form of active intelligence. It is the art of the sailor who trims his sails to the wind, who uses the very force that could destroy him to carry him forward. Your conscious mind is not meant to be a tyrant king, but a wise steward, a faithful instrument of the deeper, wider totality of your being. When you encounter an obstacle, a resistance in your life, your first instinct is to push harder, to plan, to strive, to will it into submission. But I ask you to consider the reverse. What if you were to stop pushing? What if you were to become quiet, to observe the resistance not as an enemy, but as a symptom? A symptom that the direction of your conscious will is at odds with the current of your soul. The dream that will not come, the habit that will not break, the goal that forever eludes your grasp, these are not merely failures of effort. They are communications. They are the deep psyche saying, this way is closed. The life you are trying to force is not your own. The sacred reverse is the deliberate act of yielding. It is to drop your hands from the current and ask, what is trying to emerge here? What path is trying to open if I would only stop blocking it? This is how you unlock the soul's hidden influence, not by shouting commands into the dark, but by aligning your will with the profound and silent purpose that is already moving within you. And so the journey inward turns yet again, asking you to exchange the illusion of control for the genuine power of alignment. And so you have learned to yield, to cease your pushing against the current of your own soul. You have felt the relief, the strange new power that comes from this sacred surrender. But now a new presence makes itself known, for the current you have joined does not flow through an empty channel. It is guided, shaped, given voice and image by a figure who stands at the threshold of the deep. In a man, this is the Anima, the inner feminine. In a woman, the Animus, the inner masculine. This is the soul image, the hidden gatekeeper who holds the key to the final chamber of your being. You have met this figure in dreams as the mysterious stranger who fascinates or terrifies, as the guide who appears at a crossroads, as the lover who embodies everything you have ever longed for or feared. You believed these were mere fantasies, but I tell you, they are the most real encounters of your life. They are your psyche speaking to you in the only language it knows, the language of image and relationship. This soul image is the architect of your attractions and your repulsions, the hidden conductor of your deepest emotional currents. To believe you can bypass this gatekeeper is the ultimate arrogance of the ego. You may have faced your shadow and learned to surrender your will, but without making peace with this inner other, you will forever remain a stranger to yourself. The Anima does not respond to command or control. She responds only to relatedness. She is the bridge, the mediator, the one who translates the abstract, impersonal forces of the collective unconscious into the intimate, personal language of your heart. When you ignore her, your inner world becomes sterile, your relationships become prisons of projection, and you feel a profound loneliness that no human companion can ever cure, you are disconnected from the very source of meaning. The work, then, is to court this inner figure, to engage with her not as a phantom, but as a psychic reality. This requires a dialogue. You must speak to her in your active imagination, ask her what she wants, listen to her complaints, honor her wisdom. You must allow the logical, focused mind to be softened by her values of connection, eros, and meaning. This is not a regression, but an evolution. It is the masculine principle of consciousness learning to listen to the feminine principle of soul. In this sacred union, the gate is unlocked. The key turns, for the soul image is the final guide, the one who leads you not to another battle, but to the quiet center where the self resides. And so you have come to know the gatekeeper, the soul image that guards the threshold of the deep. You have learned to listen, to yield, to engage in that sacred dialogue. And now you will discover the final, most cunning resistance, not from the shadow, nor from the world, but from the very instrument you believed was your guide, your conscious mind. For when the self begins to emerge, when the new direction of your life tries to announce itself, it does not do so with a trumpet blast of certainty. It appears instead as a lie. It manifests as the symptom you cannot explain, the irrational resistance that rises in your throat, the sudden no that erupts from a depth you do not recognize as your own. You call it self-sabotage. You call it a failure of will. You fight it, you berate yourself for it, you see it as the enemy of your progress. But I tell you, this resistance is not the wall on your path. It is the path itself. It is the lie that tells the truth. Don't consider the artist who, upon nearing the completion of his greatest work, suddenly abandons it. He calls himself lazy, a failure. But what if this resistance is not a failure? What if it is a profound protective wisdom? Perhaps the work was leading him to express a truth his soul was not yet ready to live. Perhaps the completion of the painting would have been, in some symbolic sense, a death. His conscious mind labels the abandonment a lie, a betrayal of his talent. But the unconscious, in its flawless, non-rational logic, speaks through the action. It tells the truth of a soul not yet prepared for its own revelation. Your own life is filled with such faithful betrayals. The commitment you cannot bring yourself to make, the opportunity you accidentally let slip away, the praise you deflect, the success you undermine, you see only the broken promise, the lie on the surface. You fail to see the deeper, more authentic promise being kept beneath. Your task, then, is to become an archaeologist of your own resistance. When you feel that powerful no rise within you, do not merely conquer it. Interrogate it, sit with it. Ask this resistance, what are you protecting? What greater truth are you serving? You will find that the part of you that says, I can't, is often guarding a more profound I am that is not yet ready to be born. The fatigue that descends when you pursue a hollow goal is not a sign of weakness, but of integrity. The anger that flares when you betray your own values is not the loss of control, but the voice of a soul fighting for its life. This is the ultimate application of the sacred reverse, to see every obstacle not as something to be broken, but as a message to be decoded. Your resistance is the footprint of the self, the clearest marker you will ever have of the territory your soul has deemed sacred. And so you must learn to trust the faithful lie, for it guards the unbearable truth that is slowly, patiently making you whole. And so you have learned to read the faithful lie, to decipher the truth hidden within your own resistance. You have come to see that the psyche speaks in a language of paradox, where the no guards a deeper yes. But now, we arrive at the great work, the final alchemy. For this raw, rebellious energy, this primal no that rises from the depths, cannot be simply understood or placated. It must be transformed. It is the base metal of the soul, the leaden impulse of defiance that, when placed in the fires of conscious attention, can be transmuted into the gold of wholeness. This is the alchemy of no. You see, the rebellion within you is not a mistake to be corrected. It is a force of nature as potent and undirected as lightning. It is the unintegrated power of the self rising up to shatter the forms that have become too small for it. When a child defiantly shouts no, it is not merely refusing a command. It is, for the first time, asserting the sacred boundary of its own being. It is declaring, I am. Your inner rebellion is that same child, grown ancient and powerful. It is the part of you that would rather burn everything down than live a life that is not its own. When you feel it surge as resentment against authority, as contempt for convention, as a sudden, destructive impulse, you have a choice. You can condemn it as a flaw, and in doing so, force it to go underground, where it will inevitably erupt in some destructive and unconscious act. Or you can recognize it for what it is, the raw, chaotic demand of your soul for sovereignty. The alchemical process begins when you take this hot, dark energy and do not act it out, but instead hold it in the vessel of your awareness. You must sit with the fury without becoming the fury. You must feel the rebellion without allowing it to burn down your life. This is the intense heat of the inner furnace. In this container, a miraculous separation occurs. The pure, essential energy of the rebellion, its vital core of selfhood and will, is separated from the destructive, impulsive form it has taken. The energy itself is holy. It is the fire of your individuality. But it has been trapped like a demon in a bottle, serving only to rattle its prison. As you hold it, this pure energy is freed to seek a new form. It is no longer a no against the world, but a yes to the self. It becomes the unwavering strength to uphold your values, the creative force to build a life authentic to your core, the courage to stand in your own truth without needing to destroy the truth of another. The lead of rebellion becomes the gold of integrity. The destructive impulse is transfigured into the creative act. For the final secret is that your deepest defiance is not the enemy of your wholeness. It is the unrefined ore of your soul's sovereignty, waiting for the transformative fire of your conscious attention, Dot. And so you have passed through the fire of transformation, turning the base metal of your rebellion into the gold of an integrated will. You have faced the depths and returned, bearing the sovereignty of your true self. And now, standing at this threshold of wholeness, you may notice a subtle but profound shift, not only within you, but around you. The world itself begins to speak in a new tongue. The chance meeting that arrives at the perfect moment, the book that falls open to the exact page you needed to see, the dream symbol that appears before you in the waking world, these are no longer mere coincidences. They are the final secret, the synchronistic pulse of a universe that is no longer separate from your soul. You have spent a lifetime asking questions of the world, demanding answers, seeking signs. But I tell you, the universe does not answer the questions of the ego. It responds to the state of the self. When the inner alignment is achieved, when the war within ceases, the world outside ceases to be a random collection of events and becomes a meaningful partner in a sacred dialogue. This is the culmination of all our work. This is the hidden influence fully unlocked. You have stilled the shouting of your conscious mind, and in the resulting silence, you can hear the whisper of the abyss. You have made your bargain with the shadow, and reclaimed the power you had projected outward. You have practiced the sacred reverse, surrendering control to find true authority. You have courted the soul image and gained the key to the inner sanctum. You have decoded the lie that told the truth and performed the alchemy that turned your no into a profound yes. And now the boundary between the inner and the outer grows thin. The deep, unified current of your own being begins to resonate with the deep, unified current of the world. A thought in the silence of your soul can echo back to you in the arrangement of events. A feeling in your heart can call forth a corresponding reality in your life. This is not you controlling the world, it is the world and you at last breathing in rhythm. The universe begins to answer not because you have shouted your questions more loudly, but because you have finally become still enough to hear that the answer was always there, waiting for you to attain the state that could perceive it. The final secret is that the hidden influence was never about forcing outcomes, but about achieving an inner state so coherent, so whole, that the world cannot help but reflect its harmony, and so we arrive at the great secret, the final key. You are not a solitary note, but a symphony. You are not a question begging for an answer from the universe. You are the answer the universe is asking of itself. The hidden influence was never hidden in a technique, but in a state of being the state of wholeness, where the whisper and the shout, the shadow and the light, the will and the surrender are at last integrated into a single, undeniable force. You came here seeking a key to unlock others, to manipulate the world. You leave possessing the only key that has ever existed, the key to your own soul. And in that unlocking, you have not found a smaller self, a manageable truth. You have found the cosmos. You have met the gods and demons within and called them family. You have felt the synchronistic pulse of a world that is not against you, but asterisk for asterisk you, because it asterisk is asterisk you dot. Now go from this place not as a seeker, but as a sovereign. Do not walk into the world hoping to control it. Walk into it knowing you are inseparable from it. Let your every action be a statement of that wholeness. Let your every choice be a reflection of that deep inner alignment. The path is not ahead of you. It flows asterisk through asterisk you. You are the current. You are the whisper. You are the unbreakable, synchronized truth you have been waiting for your entire life. The world does not need your perfection. It needs your wholeness. Go and give it nothing less. Thank you, and good luck on the journey that is no longer a search, but a living.